Good morning. I am here with Lena today because she won't get off my lap, and I feel honored that she has decided to sit on my lap during these. So we are live with day 2 of my 10 things you need to know before you get a puppy. So yes, if you're watching this, it is the 21st of September. So if you're finding this video later, there are 9 other videos of things I think you need to know, think about before you get a puppy. So thing 2 is, where are you going to get your puppy? So there are pros and cons to different places for getting your puppy. And of course, I think everybody wants to be responsible and get a puppy from somebody who is breeding them for the right reason, or, just nobody likes puppy mills. But the problem is that most people don't really understand what a puppy mill is or what a reputable breeder is. And it can be really hard to determine that if you aren't like a expert in the field like I am. So I'm going to walk you through pros and cons of like rescue versus breeder versus puppy mill, and then how you can find places for your puppy. So let's start with puppy mills. Get the yucky out of the way first. So a puppy mill refers to any dog that, is mass bred in a big kennel. They don't look at genetics, so they might say they health test, which just means that a vet looks at the puppy. There is nobody's tracking bloodlines and checking for genetic disorders, or pairing parents that don't have hip dysplasia or elbow or eye issues together. They're just pumping out puppies. So the big downsides are, genetically, they're unsound, which means they're expensive to own. You likely have a lot of vet bills, and unexpected things come up, or expected, but you didn't know, so unexpected to you. Also, these dogs can be what we call quote unquote dirty dogs, because they live in a crate in a kennel for basically the whole beginning of their lives. They have to pee and poop in there. And so they just become kind of numb to that. So house training is really hard. So that's another huge downside. Another downside is that generally they aren't socialized. So between 3 weeks and 5 months of age is your puppy's critical socialization period, roughly. And it's super important that they get exposed to a lot of different things during that time, so they don't develop fears and phobias, and they just become confident puppies. So normally that is not what happens. Again, they're just in a box in a warehouse with a bunch of other dogs. So this is the kind of puppy that when you bring home, when you close the kitchen cabinet, they startle. And when the fridge kicks on, they freak out, because they just aren't used to those noises at all. So yes, puppy mill puppies are harder to train generally. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's more difficult. And the worst part is you paid a ton of money for a dog that is in no way genetically superior, which is the whole point of buying a purebred dog. So well-bred can be an important thing. If you want to do something, if you want to work the dog, then purebred, well-bred is more important. I don't care about purebred dogs so much, because plenty of disreputable people are just putting dogs together without doing all of the 100 things that great breeders do. So yes, avoid puppy mill dogs. How do you do that? Any puppy being sold through a website comes from a puppy mill or disreputable breeder. Sometimes we call them backyard breeders. So they don't have a huge dirty facility that you think of, but they still don't know what they're doing, and they're just doing it for profit. So yes, and this is the gospel truth, any puppy being sold on a website, you can see the picture of the puppy, is going to be a puppy mill puppy. Great breeders generally do not have time to take pictures of each individual puppy and write up a bio and put it on a website. That's not what they're doing. Any puppy, again, any puppy, period. There are no exceptions to this rule. I swear, I've tried to find them. Any puppy sold out of a storefront comes from a disreputable breeder. I know in the Columbus area, so any Petland, period. I think there are a couple other fancy pups, pooch something, perfect pups. Yeah, any puppy being sold out of a storefront comes from either a puppy mill or a backyard breeder. That's the long and short of it. Again, I have tried to find exceptions. There aren't any. People who love their puppies, who are breeding because they love the breed and they want to do great things for them and they want to help people with their puppies, they're not going to put their puppy in a store so that a person can come look at it. They aren't going to give somebody else their puppy and let them place them in a home. They have wait lists. There's an application you go through. You sign a contract that says that if anything should happen to you, you return the puppy to the breeder because they don't want their dogs out on the streets. So yeah, there are a lot of things that reputable breeders do that you're not going to find without doing a little bit of homework. So that's what to look for in puppy mills. And also, again, backyard breeders. So backyard breeders aren't the worst thing ever, but they're contributing to pet overpopulation because they don't track where their puppies go. So they have a litter of puppies, maybe because they want one, but they didn't do the genetic testing or anything. So we're not sure that the puppies have that great genes. And then, mom has 5 puppies. They keep one, they give or sell the other 4. And there's no contract. They're probably trying to find good homes, but again, with no contract, if after a few months, so the people who took the puppy decide that they can't handle the puppy anymore, they're probably dumping them at a shelter or surrendering them to a rescue. Because if they tell the person they got the puppy from, hey, we can't handle them anymore, that person's going to say, well, I can't have another puppy because this isn't what they do for a living. They can't handle a large volume of dogs. So backyard breeders, I would avoid if you can. So that leaves rescues / shelters and reputable breeders. So how do you find a reputable breeder? Gooddog.com. You can check the AKC websites. Reputable breeders sometimes do market in similar ways to puppy mills. You just have to be able to figure out if they're reputable or not. So reputable means that they have the mom and the dad, and they have it in their breeding program. So I know some breeders, they will place dogs in different homes and then they bring them together at mating time, and then they go back to live in homes. So you're looking for a breeder who breeds their dogs not too many times a year. So maybe 2 or 3 times maximum, and really normally it's only once. I just saw some exceptions for working dogs, but you guys shouldn't be getting working dogs anyway. You want pet dogs. You don't want the show line, working German Shepherd. You don't want the hunting lab or golden retriever. You want a pet dog. So the mom and dad should both be over 2 so they can have all of their testing done to make sure that they have good eyes and elbows and all the things that are specific for your breed. So OFA testing, that's genetics and their hips and elbows and things. They're going to have some sort of early socialization program where they are exposing the puppies to different things to make sure that they are building confidence. So that's another big thing. The contract is the biggest. You're going to sign something with the breeder that says that you're going to be a good pet parent, and if you can't, under any circumstances, keep the puppy, that you're going to return it to the breeder. So that's the most important clause to find. Breeders are worth their weight in platinum. They do really good things for their dogs. So if you want a well-bred dog, seek out these breeders. And if you want help finding one, let me know. Or at the very least, if you think you found one, shoot me their info and website. I'm happy to call and talk to them or learn more about them and see if I can find any red flags. So I'm happy to be your last check to make sure that it's really a good idea for you to buy from this person. So yes, you can go to a breeder that is allowed. You don't have to feel guilty about that if you really want a specific dog. but you have to do your research and homework. It's a little more difficult, which is unfortunate. It's what everybody should be doing, but it's so hard that a lot of people sort of crumble and don't end up doing that. So the benefits of a breeder are basically the opposite of all the puppy mill things. So I know breeders whose puppies basically come home house trained, even at like 8-9 weeks old, which is insane. They like train them on cedar chips. So yeah, they're socialized, they've got great skills. The mom teaches them, they're exposed to kids and house sounds and all of that. So they're much easier to train and just live with in general. So great reason to get a puppy from a reputable breeder. Okay, last we've got shelters and rescues. So should you get a puppy from a shelter and rescue? I don't have anything against doing that. I also don't have anything against getting shelter dogs who are older. So I know some people think that, their puppies or, shelter rescue dogs are going to come with some issues you're going to have to work through. I mean, they could, but it's probably not as many issues as your puppy mill puppy has. So when it comes to getting, an 8, 9, 10 week puppy, I think getting a puppy from a rescue or shelter is a perfectly fine option. Honestly, genetics of mutts, mixed breed, who knows what dogs tend to be pretty sound. Since they're mixing everything, they aren't like watering down the genetics and getting all of these weird things. So I am cool with going to a shelter or rescue. So rescues that are like foster based, they probably have had the puppies longer and they've been in a home environment. So the foster may have helped to teach them a little bit. So that's one option. It's a little harder to adopt from a rescue. Just they have a longer process. They want to check your vet and do a home visit, and there's an application. So if you do want to get a puppy from a rescue, put an application in with them early. Don't wait until you see a puppy and say, oh, I want that one, because there are other people in line in front of you. So in the Columbus area, there are a lot of rescues. Peace for Paws, Cause for Paws, Cause for Canines, Rescued Ohio, Stop the Suffering, Rico Pet Recovery, CHA. So there are a lot of different rescues. So that's a perfectly viable, good option. Of course, their adoption fees are lower than if you buy a puppy. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with those puppies. I don't see a reason to avoid adopting a puppy. Of course, you don't know their genetics as well, so that can be a little hard to find a good puppy for you, because they all look good and cute and sweet, and you can't maybe quite tell what breed they are when they're that young. So yeah, if you have a breed in mind, it can be harder to find one at a rescue. But also, most people getting a pet dog, the breed isn't crazy important. Like, bird dogs look like bird dogs, and bulldogs look like bulldogs, so you can kind of tell that way. But getting a specific dog for a pet often isn't really necessary. You just know that you like the personalities of bird dogs, because that's me. So yes, getting a puppy from a shelter, same sort of deal. It's easier to get a puppy through a shelter because they don't do all of the checks that rescues do. They're legally only allowed to ask you like a couple of things. So anybody can walk out with a puppy, which is sort of pros and cons to that, of course. Rescues do tend to have a clause in their contract that you have to return the puppy to them if something doesn't work out. Shelters don't tend to have that, I don't think. But yes, another fine place to get a puppy. Being in that environment, maybe they don't know how to behave in your home as well as a foster-based rescue would, but again, they're babies, and they probably had a better start to life than the puppy mill puppies, and they had a little less good than significant less good than the breeders' puppies, reputable breeders' puppies. So yeah, in the middle there. No dog is, especially at that age, no dog is impossible to turn around. Puppies that are taken from their moms too young, that is a big red flag for me. So if they haven't been with their mom up until 7 weeks minimum. Yeah, if they were taken away from mom at 6 or 5, whether through tragedy or they were just separated early because someone was dumb, I would really avoid those puppies, because 5-week puppy syndrome, that sort of takes like an expert to work through. So make sure that you are getting your puppy at an appropriate age, between 8 and 12 weeks. I think legally it's 7. So 7 to 12 weeks. Some breeders keep the puppies up to 12, which is great. A reputable breeder who keeps your puppy that long, that is a godsend for you, because they're going to do so much of the work for you. If you stumble upon a puppy mill and they just couldn't sell the puppy until they're 12 weeks old, that's going to work against you. So be careful and think about, okay, why am I getting this puppy at 12? Is it because they wanted to do a lot more of the socialization and training and give the puppy more time with mom to learn things? Or is it just that they're a dumb puppy mill and they didn't market well enough because people know they're a puppy mill, so they've got a 12-week-old puppy? In that case, yeah, don't get that puppy. And I know it's always tempting, like, oh, the puppy needs it, they need rescued. If you're paying $2,000, you're not rescuing anything. You're funding jerks who breed puppies for money. So I know it's hard, but don't. Okay, so that was our heavy conversation on where to get a puppy. From a reputable breeder, avoid backyard breeders, definitely run from puppy mills. We talked a bit about how to identify those. You can go to a rescue, you can go to a shelter. So hopefully that helps you a little bit figure out what you're going to do, where you're going to source your puppy. I dropped some names in there. But yeah, let me know where you got your puppy. If you know a wonderful breeder, I would love to know them too, so that I can send people their way and avoid people finding puppy mills. I'd love to give them the clear path to the best breeder and the best puppies. And if you're looking for a puppy and considering getting one from somebody, and you can't tell if they're reputable or not, go ahead and drop a link in the comments to their website and I will check them out for you and let you know what I think. So have a great rest of your Thursday, everyone, or whenever you're watching this video, and I will talk to you all very soon.